What's up, YouTube? Special shout out to the subscribers here on the channel. So excited to have picked up a handful of new subscribers last week. I really appreciate the support. Welcome to another weekly video log where I'm here to talk through all of the training that I'm doing to prepare for Ironman Texas coming up in just 5 weeks. That's right, y'all. I only need one hand to indicate the number of weeks. There are 5 weeks of training left, and I am in the middle of the peak phase of training. I was excited to kind of introduce this concept in last week's video. These last few weeks of training and the couple of weeks ahead are what's considered the peak phase of the training, where I'm doing the longest training sessions. I'm having the biggest training volume in the week, and I'm having some really long training days in an effort to make it to race day feeling nice and prepared. And I'm really happy to say that last week's workouts really went a long way towards helping me feel prepared. I'm going to dive right into how last week's training sessions went. Then we'll take a look at the week ahead, and we will go from there. Oh my goodness, excited to talk about last week. Now, last week started off after a 80-mile ride, 7-mile run, really big sort of race rehearsal that I had done the previous Sunday. And I actually did last week's video on Monday morning, which is a bit different. I did it before my training, and I'm not sure if I just had a feeling that ride on Monday was going to be really tough, and I just felt like I needed to do the video first. I'm not sure what convinced me to do it in that order, but I gotta say that 2-hour ride the day after my race rehearsal was tough. It was a 2-hour easy ride. I got on my trainer thinking no big deal, another 2 hours. I was feeling a little banged up from the day before, but wasn't thinking too much about a 2-hour training ride. I do them very frequently. However, around the 45-minute mark, everything just started to be uncomfortable. It felt like time was going by extremely slow. Like, I swear, like between 45 minutes and 53 minutes, it felt like a lifetime. And I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? Ooh, dropped the power down, really just soft pedaled for the last hour or so. I actually got off the bike. I cut it a little bit short. Yeah, hour 45. I couldn't make it, y'all. I was so drained and ready to get off that bike. I was way more tired than I thought, I guess. Either way, that was a pretty tough way to start the week. Just feeling like totally toast. Made it to yoga that evening, and that felt a little bit better, but it really stuck with me that this 2-hour easy ride kicked my butt earlier in the day. Moving on to Tuesday, I was still, my legs were really sore, but I felt like my arms, my upper body, like my swimming muscles felt pretty good. And that being said, I had a pretty good swim on Tuesday. This was sort of like the beginning of the comeback, like Monday was really tough. Tuesday ended up instilling some confidence in me and had a pretty solid 4,500 yard swim. The set was a bunch of 200s, 5x200, 4x200, 3x200, 2x200, that kind of a deal. And really the focus on my mind during that swim was the next day, because the next day on Wednesday, I had the longest training run that I've actually ever done. The training plan called for 19.9 miles, basically a 20-mile run. And the workout called for 3 by 25 minutes, 15 seconds faster than predicted Ironman pace. So I am giving myself a predicted Ironman pace of around 750 to 755 minutes per mile. And thus the intervals I was trying to shoot for on Wednesday were about 735 to 740 per mile. So those are pretty long intervals, 25 minutes, but times 3, that's well over an hour of that faster paced running. And I've mentioned this in several of my other training updates. I have very limited experience with running beyond 13 or 15 miles or so. I've really only done it a handful of times I've never done just a pure marathon before. The longest run I've ever done was actually at the Ironman Florida, my first Ironman in 2022. And that was really, it was under 5 hours for the marathon, but that is to say it was a lot of walking. It wasn't really a solid 26-mile run. That being said, I had a lot of reservation going into Wednesday, just knowing that I'd be pushing myself beyond that comfort zone. Also knowing that it's like the biggest training run, the longest training run that I'll have to do to get ready for the race. That also kind of was weighing on my mind. Started out with the first two 25-minute intervals, and I was pretty happy with them. I was a few seconds off, but my heart rate that day was actually much higher than I'm used to, like maybe 15 beats higher than normal. I don't know if it was just excitement. The temperature was a little bit warmer, but I was sort of starting to panic a little bit in the first 20 minutes, seeing my heart rate so high. I was just like, this is not going to go well. However, I was able to sort of just pause that thought and just calm down and tell myself that I have the ability to keep my heart rate at that elevated rate for hours. I've done it plenty of times. So let's just be quiet the mind, and try to focus on this run. And that actually worked really well. I did the first 10-mile loop and was almost done with the intervals. I had to do another 15 minutes of that faster pace, starting off my second loop of 10 miles. And that was a pretty good high point right there. So a little more than halfway done with the run. I think it's a high point because I was able to really nail that 7:35 per mile pace, running that third 25-minute interval as the fastest one out of all three. Finished that up at around 12 and a half miles, and I had another moment where, my body just started to feel like, beat up. I'm like, okay, here's the fatigue. Here it is. I'm less than 2 hours into this. I still have 8 miles to go. And I was immediately able to take that sort of intimidation and fear and turn it into a bit of excitement. I was able to tell myself, hey, this is your chance. Like, this is your chance to do the thing. This is your chance to go and put the effort in, to do the thing that you're nervous to do, to run further than 15 miles, to keep the pace under control. And I really surprised myself at my ability to stop the worry and just mentally tell myself it was time to go and I was ready. I am very proud of the last 8 miles or so that I ran. The average pace for the whole run ended up being under 8 minutes per mile. And I'm actually really thrilled. That was kind of like my stretch goal. Like, if I can get this whole 20 miles done under 8 minutes per mile, that would be incredible. And despite the increased amount of discomfort that I felt mile after mile, I was able to sort of match that with my mentality and convince myself that yes, I can keep running. No, I don't have to stop. Yes, my heart rate is high, but that doesn't mean I have to stop. It's not too high. And overall, I'm really happy with that run. That run went really well. Huge confidence builder for me. Heart rate under control for the most part, even though it was higher than usual. And the pace was really good for me. And I felt like I got hit by a car, like within 45 minutes of finishing the run. That sort of excitement and high feeling was there sort of once the adrenaline sort of wore off and taking a shower and drying off. Oh man, I was wrecked. Going up and down stairs was tough. My right hip was just like stinging into my around the front of my right hip into like my inner thigh, like crotch area. Just like the motion of sort of like driving my car, foot on the brake and gas was just like sharp, painful. My shoulders felt trashed. My neck was sore. Like, I don't know what it is about these longer runs. Like, I'm just, they really take a toll on me. And so on Thursday, I had an easy spin. And I'm so glad that's all I had that day. I think that it was a little hard to get started on the bike on Thursday. Went outside to do it. I couldn't even imagine doing it on the trainer. I just thought, maybe it's a beautiful day. The whole trying to stay upright on two wheels thing, riding outdoors, hopefully will sort of distract me, get my heart rate up a little bit, and it will help me feel better. And it did, finished that ride feeling a little bit better than when I started, but still just feeling extremely sore. And I was asking myself a lot of questions on Thursday, just like, asking myself things like, hey, is this what everybody goes through? Like, is it normal to be this sore? Is this what it feels like to push your boundaries? Like, should I be happy about this discomfort, this pain? Should I be, because I'm trying to be like positive, right? I'm trying to say, hey, I had a great run yesterday. But just the level of fatigue feeling the day afterwards was really kind of hard for me to process. And especially like right there in the middle of the week on a Wednesday, and I still have like a bunch of big training sessions to go. I think that's most of my thoughts about that long run on Wednesday and the day after, just really feeling a little unsure if like, did I push it too much? Am I going to be able to recover? These are the kind of thoughts that were kicking around in my head on Thursday. Moving into Friday, on the plan I had an open water race swim the distance, open water. However, it was really, the weather was pretty poor on Friday, overcast, kind of foggy. I didn't really want to go to the open water swim to the lake by myself. Also, considering how sore I was still feeling, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel in the water, and the idea of being out in the middle of the lake and having a cramp or having to stop because I'm so sore, that sort of led me to decide to go and swim in the pool, much more controlled environment. I broke up the 2.4 miles into 4 1,000-yard intervals, very short breaks in between, pretty much just a continuous swim, 4,075 yards. Came in at about 1 hour and 17 minutes, which is about 8 minutes off my swim time from Ironman Florida. And I'm pretty happy. Anything under 120 it feels good for me. So the big question on my mind for Friday was how the run was going to feel afterwards, because I ran the 20 miles on Wednesday, super banged up. Got out of the water, got into my running clothes, and really was just trying to be patient, not trying to guess how I was going to feel, and ended up surprising myself. I took off running pretty slow at first, about 10 minutes per mile, really just jogging, letting myself sort of, get the feel. And then when I started running again after my first walk break, I dove right in and said, hey, let me just try to run my normal easy pace. And I was happy to actually be able to get there. It didn't feel too bad. I ended up backing off a little bit, rounding out around 9 minutes per mile. But it was, a bit of a turning point and, a little bit of reassurance, yes, your body is recovering from Wednesday's long run. Yes, you're able to run. You haven't, injured yourself in a way. You didn't push yourself too hard on Wednesday. These are the feelings that I, started to feel during that easy run. And then later in the day, I had a strength session with my strength trainer, and that also went well. I'm starting to feel pretty relieved by Friday afternoon, Friday evening, like, whew, Wednesday's run is done and I'm recovering. Speaking of recovering, on Saturday, I only had yoga to do, which was wonderful to help with my recovery. I had a really big training day on Sunday, which I'll get to in a second, but I think that the way that my coach planned this week out, yes, I had that big run on Wednesday, but the easy spin, easy swim, easy run, and then pretty much a rest day on Saturday ended up really, really doing well for my recovery. On Sunday, yesterday, I had what is easily the longest bike ride I've ever done in my life. The longest bike ride of this training plan. And I'm so happy to be here on the Monday, the day after, and feeling really good about how it went. So yesterday's race rehearsal called for 112 miles. It was very simple. It said target Ironman effort for 112 miles and then run 10K afterwards. Now, the way that broke down logistically, We decided, so there's a small training group that I'm working with getting ready for Ironman Texas, and the three of us decided to start our ride earlier in the morning on the trainer before the sun came up. So we met at the powerhouse, put our bikes on the indoor trainers, started spinning at 6 a.m., got an hour of that ride done, and then got out on the road with a mission to do about 5 more hours of riding. So I was able to do the entire 5 hours along with one of the other athletes training for the race. She and I had a wonderful opportunity. The weather was fantastic. Both of our training has been going very well so far, and all indicators point to should have been able to have a solid long training day on the bike, and it did work out pretty well. We started at 7:30 in the morning after that hour on the bike on the trainer, and we weren't done with the ride until about 2 o'clock. So it was a pretty epic ride. Ended up being 95.5 miles out there on the road, just under 5 hours. And when you combine that with the hour we did on the trainer beforehand, that's about 115 miles combined. And that is amazing because that's 3 more miles than the distance we have to do on race day. I can't tell you how good it feels to know that I have done a ride that's longer than the 112 miles, and I felt strong at the end. I felt, way better than I expected to. And I think that I took it a little bit easier. My power output was about 25-30 watts lower than my previous long rides. That was done in an effort to allow me to stay together with this other athlete, but it ended up being such an eye-opener for me because riding at about 205 watts instead of 230, I think it really helped me just feel stronger in that last half an hour or so. Like the last, this last 30 minutes of the ride here, still averaging 185 watts power, 20.8 miles an hour, heart rate at 145. To be at 5.5 hours of riding and then ride like that and feel the way that I did, I think is a really, really good sign. Getting off the bike, I wasn't really sure because it had taken so much longer than I had expected to. I thought we'd be done around 1, but we didn't finish until around 2. I wasn't sure if I should maybe cut my run a little bit short. I decided I would see how I felt. And surprisingly enough, within the first 5 minutes on that run, I knew that I had the 10K in the bag. I was like, no, I got this. I can do this 6 miles today. I don't have to cut it short. And another 10K done just around 8 minutes per mile after a monster ride like that. If you can't tell, I'm feeling really good about how that went. So last week, pretty huge for me. To get that 20-mile training run done, to recover from it, and then to have such a successful, huge, long 7-hour training day yesterday that also went smoothly, really feels great. So last week's training, done, dusted, a lot to talk about there, obviously. Let's take a quick look at the week coming up ahead. Today I went to the pool. Had a very, very slow swim today. It was really hard to feel down about it though at all because of the success of yesterday's training, and of course I'm going to be a little bit tired today. No big deal in the pool this morning. Moving into tomorrow, 2-hour easy ride. I am confident that this is going to be much better than last week's 2-hour easy ride. I'm really not feeling as tired as I was last week, and I'm optimistic that 2 hours tomorrow will feel good. On Wednesday, I've got a interval run, so a little bit more faster paced running to do. Actually excited to get out there and do it because I've had some really successful faster runs in the last few weeks. I think that I've recovered from those faster runs, and this should feel pretty good on Wednesday, hopefully. Also have a swim on Wednesday. Looks like it's only 45 minutes, easy swim. Try to knock out that swim and run in the morning, and then I'll go to the group strength class on Wednesday. Thursday, this ride looks kind of tough. Thursday's 2 hours on the trainer, but it is not easy. Thursday we've got these 8-minute build to high zone 4, and then 3 by 15 minute zone 4 with 5-minute zone 2 between the sets. It's been a while since I've done 15 minutes at zone 4, so that's going to be about 45 plus 8. I mean, that's almost an hour of zone 4 effort on the bike. So that should be a challenge, but I'm up for it. On to Friday. Looks like a really long swim on Friday, hour 30. It's the same swim I did last Tuesday. No big deal. I'm good with this one. 5 by 200s, 4 by 200s, 3, 2, and then a 200 max effort. Got it. No problem there. On to Saturday, run at half marathon to marathon pace. Oh, dang. I didn't see this one. Yo, if I run at half marathon pace for an hour 45, I'm going to run a half marathon. What the heck? All right, so on Saturday, I'm going to run a half marathon at my half marathon. Well, it does say to marathon effort, so I'm not going to go for a half marathon PB, but and I will take walk breaks, but that's going to be a faster pace run on Saturday. That should be interesting. And Sunday, another long training day. This time, however, it's only 5 hours. That's a whole hour less than I had to ride yesterday. No big deal, right? 6 by 20 minute low zone 3 with 20-minute zone 2 recovery in between the sets. All right, should be good. And then look at this, y'all. Only 30 minutes of running off the bike. Isn't that crazy? When you do a long training session the week before and you have another one the next week and it's a little bit shorter, I swear it feels so much nicer. I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. Well, I am thrilled to be as far as I am here. 5 weeks left to go. I knew this might be a little bit of a longer video because, I had a lot to talk about and unpack with the previous week, this peak week or peak phase of training. The next few weeks aren't going to be easy, but I feel like I've gone through the hardest part. I don't know why. I could be wrong, and if I am wrong, I will admit it, but I feel like this last week of training was sort of like the hump in the road, the hump of the hill, and now I am, just building up momentum towards race day. So once again, if there is anything that you have gained from this video or any questions that this video has caused you to think about, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Please don't be a stranger. Say, hey, even if you think everything I'm doing is if I'm doing it the wrong way, in your opinion, I'm happy to hear about that too. I will be here next week with another training update. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.